Well, hello, everyone. I'm Toy Johnson-Vincent, the no sugarcoating coach. You know something? It is National Stress Awareness Month. That's right. It's April 2023. It's National Stress Awareness Month. And I got to tell you, you must be almost inhuman if you have not ever had a stressful day or evening, whether that's about friends and family, significant others, or what have you, whether it's financial, whether it's health, but anything that starts with the word health, you know you don't want to be in a health crisis. But imagine you're sitting there, your life is going just wonderfully fine, and then all of a sudden you have a diagnosis of cancer. In this case, I'm going to interview Michelle Curtis. She is a longtime native of Washington, D.C. She also currently is based out of the Baltimore, Maryland area. She has her doctorates, and again, she emphasis on psychology, trauma, counseling, all of the above. I have so many notes written down here, but she'll tell you all about it more detail. But in the meantime, she also has a master's degree in mental health and counseling. So for Michelle, it's been about counseling. And I love it because as a certified life coach, I don't have any of those other degrees. But you know what I love about this person? She happens to be family. She is a second cousin of mine. So I'm just loving this all the way around, coming full circle. We spent more time in our youth as a teenager, which is where I learned a lot more about Michelle through my other cousins and uncles and all of that from the Washington area, where my own mom, now deceased, grew up. So again, basketball coach, you name it, she does it. And she's a leader, counselor. And if you know anything, there's a school called the SEED, SEED, SEED Charter School in Washington, D.C. And today I want to bring in my guest because she's going to give you her story briefly about being diagnosed with breast cancer and stress and how you, if you're going through anything similar, listen to this, share this episode on Speak to Me First podcast show. I'm Toy Johnson Vincent, and now I'll bring in my guest, Michelle Curtis. Come on in, Michelle. Come on in. Wave to the audience because they'll eventually see it.
Hi, Toy. Hi, everybody. How are you guys doing today?
Good,
And
good, good.
good. I was invited by my cousin, my second cousin, Toy, to speak on stress and stress of there's different types of stress. You can hit your finger and that could cause stress. Any little thing or any big thing can cause stress. And so initially we were talking about my finding out I had breast cancer, which I discovered by getting my regular mammogram, which I suggest please do. Males and females continue to get mammograms. When I got mine in October 2021, they discovered I had a lump. And then 7 days later, they discovered it was cancerous. Of course, my first reaction was just crying in the doctor's office. And
Mhm.
then he was explaining all this information to me. I have a very good doctor. He was writing everything down on a piece of paper. I guess he knew I wasn't really paying attention. So when I got home and got myself together, I went over the paper and I started recalling what he was telling me about the breast cancer. He actually had pictures that he drew and what our plan of action was going to be. And so I wasn't completely relaxed after that, but I started relaxing as things went on. The caregivers I had, they actually helped put me at rest and made sure I stayed at ease and at peace. And then I
Mhm.
had family support. But that was one of the hardest things to do was tell your family that you have breast cancer, especially when you have a brother who's going through MS.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
quite difficult.
Yes, and that's
So
something too that you brought up. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that regarding your brother. And obviously you come from somewhat of a large family. I know that now we're older because we spent more time, in the youth, and I was like a teenager. And but you're kind of in along with my older brother, but I just tried to tag along anyway until somebody told me to get out of here. Basically, when you come and hung out with us in New York, Brooklyn, to be specific. But and by the way, before we even start, we got to give a shout out to your mom, the Queen, from that Sanders, that Sanders people over there, hailing from North
yeah,
Carolina. Okay, we got to say that because I know your mom is going to be listening to this, and we can't wait until she hears it. And your daughter, beautiful daughter Tiffanee, I want to just shout out to Tiffanee, who would be my third cousin. So hey, there we go. It is here. Okay, in the interest of time, we're going to get right on to it. The thing is, you mentioned. I want to talk about first of all, even before your illness, you were just going about your wonderful life. Obviously you were doing some work that you really loved. I mean, you have a love for children and the age groups that you were working with in terms of counseling and trauma, and all of those things. And you studied, I mean, I just wrote it down here. You have a PhD, psychology and trauma concentration in those areas. But not only that, your master's in mental health and counseling. So it seems to me, it's interesting. I just need your take on this happened to you. Do you kind of feel like, why did this happen to me? I'm the health counselor. I'm counseling people on different things. And now you're going through a journey of what would have been a health crisis, but you are a survivor. And I just want to know, some tips out there for people who may be listening and may, encounter this. Did you wind up feel like, oh my goodness, I need my own counselor. I need something, I need help myself. Did that help you because of your background?
the, well, yes and no. So I have a nurse. They called her the nurse, the breast navigator is what they call her. She's a RN, BSN, and she assigned someone who had been through this breast cancer, the same as mine. I have breast cancer, HER2 positive is what they call it. And some are negative, but I'm positive, which means there's some more things wrong going on. And so she assigned me to this young lady. And then I have a friend, one of my very close friends, who she does things on the radio, and she's an RN, but her concentration was HIV and AIDS.
Mhm.
And so she referred me to one of her friends and line sisters who had cancer like 4 times, just kept coming back. And
Mhm.
so between the two of those young ladies, they were my supporters. And when I had questions to ask or wondered about something, I would pick up the phone and call them. They also
Mhm.
called and checked on me all the time. And
Mhm.
then I have a wonderful sister-in-law whose mother had gone through breast cancer. And so when she found out that I had breast cancer, she called and told me what I was going to need, what I needed to drink, what I needed to eat, and that I was going to have days that I felt like I was just couldn't move. And she said, "Don't move." So the three of these people, outside of my family, these three young ladies helped me with the technical part, like things my family couldn't tell me. My daughter, of course, was my biggest and still is my biggest supporter. She
Mhm.
actually had a birthday party where her friends bought her t-shirts, made t-shirts, and it said support team, breast cancer support team. And they
Mhm.
took a picture and sent it to me, to let me know that not only was my daughter behind, me, but her friends were. So they were giving her support because she's in South Carolina. And as you mentioned earlier, I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. So we're like 500 miles apart.
Mhm.
So, and she was one of my biggest worries because she's by herself. And
Mhm.
so after they sent me that, and I found out that no, she's not by herself, she has her own support team. And so then her support team started sending me coloring books, crayons, the adult coloring books. So when I
Yes.
couldn't do anything, but I wanted to do something, and I couldn't do anything major, I just colored. And I was so grateful for what they were doing as well. So I
Wow.
had a so one of my tips is make sure that you have a support team, whether it's family, friends, neighbors,
Mhm.
caregivers, just people that you can talk to and rely on. And, when you need to vent and get things out, because at first I was like, why me, Lord? Why? What I do? You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
and as I settled down into having cancer and started going through the treatment, I
Mhm.
realized I was meant to be an example and to lead and to give my knowledge that I learned, and let people know that it's not an easy thing. It is really hard, but it
Mhm.
becomes easier and adjustable when you have that support team behind you.
Right. And what I'm hearing from you several times, the key thing is support. And you may have found this, or from time to time, just in life in general, at least I have, where just when you really need people, they aren't always there. It's
They
interesting if
are
someone has a health crisis, they typically run in the other direction. But that is clearly the time where you will find out who is really in your corner. And I got to say this, that includes friends and family. I'll say it again for the people in the back
exactly,
because,
exactly,
I mean, okay, chemo, oh no, I can't go with you to that. Or, oh nope, I don't have the money to give you for this. Or no, you live too far. But I think people should understand that there are ways to support people as far as what you're saying, what I heard you say, including your daughter with her friends, because it not only affects the patient and the person that's going through it, it can affect the family and your friends who you've had a routine. You went to work, you're a leader, counselor. I mean, in the school system and everything else. That was a busy schedule. But what about the person? What would you say, Michelle? Um, when did you kind of find out who you really are through this health crisis that you've experienced? What did you learn about yourself, is what I'm saying.
So I've always been a God-fearing person, and I've always had journals, and writing journals with things I didn't want people to burden other people with, so to speak. And so I found out that I'm not as strong as I thought I was, that I did need to lean on other people and I did need to let other people know exactly how I was feeling. My daughter actually made me promise that I would be 100 with her, whether I thought it was going to hurt her, upset her. I needed to let her know exactly what was going on with me. And I'm not one of those people who will call people and say, I don't feel good. This is wrong. That's wrong. I'm one of
Mhm.
those people who just grin and bear it. And I've learned that I have others around me who want to grin and bear it with me. And
Mhm.
so that was one of the hardest things for me to do, was to
Mhm.
share my feelings, share my pain, share my fears
Mhm.
with other people, even though they're, my mom, and I felt like she will be 90 in September. She didn't need to hear everything. Plus, she was taking care of, my brother who has MS. He's
Mhm.
living with them, and that's a burden right there.
Mhm.
And then, again, my daughter, who I just was like, well, that's my daughter, but I had to keep in mind, but she's a grown woman. She's not a little girl. She's
Mhm.
not a baby. And I need to tell her, how I was feeling. And then I felt like I could tell the three other people who were like kind of assigned to me or took to me because they
Mhm.
had it. I felt like because they had it, I could share more with them. But then I
Mm.
realized I could share, with my daughter, everything, because I had promised her I would do everything. And she knows, like, I don't break my promises to her.
Mhm.
So I was able to, learn that, okay, you're stronger and you can share your weaknesses with others, just let them in.
Let
It's
them in.
hard, but you have to that.
Yeah,
So, and that's
yeah,
actually what's been helping me, is letting them in. Even with you, like, every now and then you would call me if I didn't feel like talking. That's one thing I did tell everybody. You call me, but if I don't feel like talking, I'll call you back. And
right.
so you would either text me or call me and say, well, how are you doing today? That helped. Even those little things help. You don't need
Yeah.
to send me money. People don't need to buy me groceries or pay my bills.
Mhm.
It helps. But I'm just, there are lots and lots of cancer organizations out there that do take care of that. But
Yeah.
just, knowing that other people were worried and concerned and want to make sure I was okay, that
Hmm.
helps. That helps a lot. Let them in.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, that's good that you said that because you're being your authentic self. You're saying you're showing up today with the real deal. And I'm Toy Johnson-Vincent, the no sugarcoating coach. But my cousin Michelle Curtis today, I'm going to say Dr. Curtis, if you will. That's right. The Curtis is in the house and recognize, well, we have a family of educators, including your mom, and bless her that she's going to be, having her milestone birthday. So that is fantastic. And one last thing I want to say on that is, okay, we know you're going to be listening to your mom, Helen, right? So we want to make sure that she knows, and she tells me all the time, she says she loves it that I, call her and check up on her, over the years and everything, and also conference her in with another cousin who would still be my second cousin. It's oh my goodness, who's 92. So, and I put them on conference calls. So it is about communication. Family can't always be there, but you would hope that they can, when they can, they will show up. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the tables because it is National Stress Awareness Month. And you and I talked about that off camera, and about it being this month. I think every month should be a stress awareness month. If it, I mean, really, if it isn't your blood pressure, because even what I've been going through for the past, honest to goodness, for the past year, probably longer than that, and I'm a very private person, so nobody would ever know that whatever I was going through. But I can tell you, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that they didn't have to put the pressure cup on my arm every day, because if they did, they probably would have rolled me out of here. But this is the thing, medication, everything changes. Obviously, when you go through a health crisis, and it is National Stress Awareness Month. What are some tips you have for just keeping stress free? And if not stress free, especially if you're battling a health crisis, you're obviously in recovering and doing what you're doing. But what maybe, one or two tips that you can give to someone that may be in your situation, or just in general, because it is National, uh, stress awareness.
Right. So, one of the things I would tell everybody is seize the day. Live each day to the fullest. Like, enjoy it, because whether you have an illness, whether
Hmm.
you are stress free, tomorrow is not promised. And we've seen that going through pandemic, losing people because of pandemic, losing people just because of natural causes. Take the time, like they say, smell the roses, like, you may not be able to go anywhere or drive anywhere, but you may be able to take a walk outside, front or back. Enjoy the people that are around you. Everyone, wherever you live, apartment, whatever, you have neighbors. Check on your neighbors, say hi to them. Just do things that are just, don't take any time. They don't take any money. They just take, well, they do take time, but they take your time, your personal time, just to say, just pick up the phone and call if you're not able to get outside. Just check in. That's what that's one of the main things, because I know that I've lost several people during these last 2.5 years. My stepmother passed away in December. I couldn't even get to her funeral, because I had gotten, I have good days and bad days,
Hmm.
and I couldn't get on the plane to fly down there because I was having a week of bad days.
Okay.
So it was just like, so, but I did keep in contact with her and and talk to her as much as possible. But I'm just saying, you never know. So just try to check in on people, and
Hmm.
try and check in on yourself. It's called self-care, and make sure
Mm-hmm.
you do self-care, whether it's sitting in a tub of bubbles with candles around you,
Mm-hmm.
smelling some good smell. Lavender is one, a good smell, scented eucalyptus. Um, just, take care of you, because if you
Yeah.
don't take care of you, if you don't, you're not gonna be able to help anybody or be that supporter or caregiver that you may have to be someday down the road. And
Mm.
so self-care is the first thing you need to do,
Mm-hmm.
so, and that's something I've always done, and I pride myself on doing. But I was, since I was diagnosed with
Mm-hmm.
breast cancer, I found it, that I do it more frequently. Like, I was doing massages, I was having aromatherapy, I was having Reiki therapy, healing touch, just reading, writing in a journal. Just, like, if you're mad and don't want anybody to know that you're mad, get some paper and a pencil and just write what you feel, even if it's one word on each line or just a bunch of words that don't even make sense going together. Get your feelings out. Just
Yeah.
self-care is one of the main things.
Get it down on
So,
paper, hashtag self-care, check in with people, even when you think you say you want to be so private. Because I know that from a family perspective, we are pretty much were private people. I mean, like my aunts or great aunts and uncles and all of that. We didn't just shout out our business to the world, and we would never really say, "Oh, I'm ill or I'm having a crisis." I mean that
right.
you just didn't. We don't, you know. And of course, the way I grew up, also in New York, it's kind of like, look, if you're dealing with a crisis, here's what they'll tell you. Well, deal with it and call me later. you know. So it's just that again, from a cultural perspective, sometimes people deal with things in different ways, and we understand it because we're acknowledging it's National Stress Awareness Month. Let's face it, if you feel the same way I feel that every single day you have to learn how to manage the stress, the points, the blood pressure cup. I mean, we have chronic diseases, particularly in our community. Even me being type 2 diabetic, I don't always do the right things. I just don't, right? And I just said I've been stressed for like probably over a year, but I'm glad to be here. So I guess the cuff is working. But essentially, um, I'm just I knew it would get you one way or the other. Reality will set in for a lot of people. Ask you, we're gonna before we, close out. I wanted to talk because this is important. Have you thought about your diet and all of that has changed now in terms of a health from a food perspective? Are you doing something completely different? You used to eat this, but no longer. Or I used to eat that. I mean, has anything changed? Did you just kind of lose your feeling for what you love, or have you managed to, push through with whatever you
Well,
want?
so like you, I'm also diabetic type 2. So that had already changed in how I eat and what I eat. But when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was told a list of things that I definitely couldn't eat. Of
Mhm.
course, they're everything I love. Sushi, mm-mm. Oysters, no raw oysters, no, it's just like, and I was like, you're kidding me, right? No sushi? Like, my giant has sushi specials every Wednesday. Like, no. Um, then, like, I don't really drink sodas. I'm a water drinker, and I was told no water because the chemicals from the chemo, your mouth, everything that you eat is going to taste like metal. It's going to have a strange, funny taste. And so whatever you love eating, don't eat. What eat certain things and kind of stick with them. And
Yeah.
so again, my daughter and my niece, they're naturalists. So my daughter looked up and found out that lemons and limes, if you either make lemonade or limeade, or you suck on a lemon or a lime before you eat, you kind of get that taste of metal out of your mouth, and you get regular taste in it. It's not going to be 100%, but it's
Mhm.
going to be way better than it's going to be if you don't do that. And as you can see, I'm always with my lemonade,
Yeah.
my lemon juice and water. You know, I have to keep that beside me because now I've gotten so used to drinking lemon water.
Mhm.
You know, so I do a lot of water, but I infuse it with fruit because again, I'm a water drinker, and so I'm not a soda person. So she found smart water alkaline and smart water flavor, different flavors. That
Mhm.
also helped me a lot. And now I'm continually drinking, like I can't go without it, but I can also drink my regular water.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I have carried over since I've stopped all the therapies, except for the hormone therapy. I've
Wow.
still continued to, because I, you know, they became a part of me, you know, and
Wow.
when I was going through it, I'm gonna tell you what I ate. I lived on oatmeal, cream of wheat, all kinds of hot cereals, pancakes. You know, I love pancakes, but pancakes, the taste for some reason never changed the whole way through. Sometimes it just be pancakes and butter, pancakes and jelly. Not a lot of pancakes and syrup, even though my syrup was, you know, low calorie, low sugar. But as soon as I finished the treatments and everything was out of my system, oh, I've been tearing pancakes and syrup up. But it's just things that you know, whatever you eat,
Yes.
is, you know, they tell you what not to eat. When you finish, you are kind of afraid to go back and try them. So just lately, in the last month or so, I've been tearing sushi and raw oysters up as often as I can.
Oh. Oh my God. Well, I tell you, you had me on the pancake. So that was it. I mean, look, I would still be sitting outside of a Waffle House, IHOP, and anything else I could find for my pancake. But thank you for sharing that because obviously, what you have gone through and may still have things that you obviously have to take care of your health in a very different way than you were prior to being diagnosed. It's just all extra now in your life. Before we close out, I want to talk to you, just ask you, you know, with all that you have learned about being diagnosed, your mindset, something has to change because you cannot be the exact same person you were. At least I don't think so, that you were prior to being diagnosed. So I'm going to ask you before we close out, what is the difference with Michelle pre-diagnosed than now? And then leave our audience with your best resilience tip.
I think the biggest thing was for me to go from being a real private person to being able to share my fears and my pain with others, that are my family, and stop worrying about how they will how they will be affected by it, because I'm the one, I had to put me first, and because
Mhm.
I'm the one who needs them more so now than I did then. And so that changed a lot about me. um Being able to share, because again, like, as you mentioned, we are those type of people. Our family is that type that keeps everything in. And so I've been able to share. And one of our cousins, Kelly, she is like, made me see how much I've changed. She's
Yeah.
like, you used to be so distant. We're sister cousins, but you
Mhm.
used to keep a lot, and you wouldn't tell me what's going on, but you wanted me to tell you everything going on with you, with her. So she's like, I'm so proud of you that you've come to the point where you're able to realize that we're here for you just like you're here for us.
Mhm.
So, and that was a major turning point for me. And as a counselor, as a psychologist, that's our job. We're supposed to listen. We're not
Mhm.
supposed to tell everybody our business, our personal business. We're supposed to listen to, your problems and issues. So I had to actually change and start telling everybody my business, as far as feelings and fears, and, like
Mhm.
on days I don't feel good. So
Mhm.
yeah, I had
Yeah.
to let them in.
You had to let, and you said that, and I heard you say that before. Like if we back up and when we run this broadcast, you will hear yourself saying, you have to let somebody in. And it may not be everybody because it's still your private life. if you will.
Right.
But today you are going to someone is going to be inspired by the fact that you had the courage. And I think just being a survivor, some people call something else. Not everybody says survivor, but whatever it is for you, whatever you want to put at the end of your name, you didn't let this have you, because you're saying, no, no, you're a fighter, courage. I say you're a warrior. That's what I say, because you're still standing and you're able to globally, motivate and inspire someone who may be going through this, or what we don't have, understand what happens in the future. Someone else is saying, well, I was fine yesterday, but I went to my doctor's office today and guess what? So
Right.
I'm thanking you
Exactly.
so much, you know what I mean, because you're speaking from the heart. But I got to tell you, now we're going to end. But before we do, I'm always going to say, before we end, because I can talk to you all day. And goodness gracious, there's so much history. I do want to make sure that we shout out to a few people, because we know Tiffanee. You got to shout out to Tiffanee, your daughter. You Tiffanee, you're taking care of mom. We got this. I know you are. You love your mom. Your mom again. Your mom, Helen, of course. I call her cousin Helen. I know Aunt Helen, cousin. We use that interchangeably. And spending those times with you, uh, right down near the Rock Creek Park. As a teenager, but I was younger, and of course, the other cousin, Hazel, who you guys were running, trying to run circles around me, but I was from New York. I said, I'm gonna keep up with you too. trying to trying to say stay back there. But I thank you for that, for making me laugh, because I still have those memories. And of course, our cousin Kelly, who visited as well. And I want to make sure that you definitely, you still take care of yourself, and you're doing all that you can. And you've maintained your faith throughout your journey. So
Well, I've had my doubts in the beginning, but
yeah,
you know, God will
yeah,
see you through. Like,
yeah.
He'll see you through. So I just
Hmm.
want to tell everybody I call it my journey. I've
Okay.
said to people that I've lost a couple of years of my life, but I'm back. And I just want people to know, because I slept through most of it. So I want people to know that this too shall pass. You will make it through. You have to fight the hard fight, but you will make it through.
Yes, you will. And you made it right onto this show, which I love. Speak to Me First podcast show. Folks, you've been listening to, not only is she a breast cancer survivor, but I'm going with her other accolades. And first of all, she is doctor, and I'm talking PhD. I'm very proud of you. It's someone to look up to. I know that you've gone through a lot in your life, as many others may have gone a lot through their lives, but not everybody takes the time or is willing to share that portion that was probably the worst days of their lives, with the world. But you now, people are going to hear your story in about 17 to 18 countries, in the next couple of days. So, from your episode on Speak to Me First podcast show, including the continent of Africa. So there you go. You're going to be out there, and I know you love to travel. So don't be surprised if someone's listening on your next flight. You and your daughter, you're always going somewhere, sharing pictures and everything on Facebook. Take us out, Michelle. Tell people. Well, let me ask you something. What's next for Dr. Michelle Curtis? Anything you got going? Because I know I'm waiting on your book before you close.
Well, I don't have anything going. The first book is going to be the dissertation. I have 5 chapters, but I've completed all the way to chapter 3. So when I'm able to get back to typing and writing, it'll be chapter 4 and 5, and that's going to be published. Um, the the other thing is, I want to travel with Doctors Without Borders. That's always been one of my dreams. And so as soon as my doctors say, okay, you can go, you can start traveling again, I'm gonna try to get connected with them. And because we're having the war in Ukraine, all these natural disasters, all these shootings, mass school shootings.
Mhm.
Um, I want to be there helping. I want to be the counselor there helping, to listen to stories and help talk people down and try to get them to calm down and understand that, they're going through trauma
Mhm.
and all of these are traumatic experiences, even though they're different. Um, um, I may take you up and write that book, throw all my journals together and write that book. But other
Yeah.
than that, I'm just gonna continue to fight the fight because it may come back, but knock on wood, is not coming back. I'm, like I have no cancer right now. I'm cancer free, and I'm planning on staying cancer free. And um,
Yes.
that's what's on my plate for now.
Yes, absolutely. Cancer free. That's what we love to hear and know. Thank you so, so much. Who do you want to give a shout out to before you leave us today? Anybody? You can
To
name
my
it real
family,
quickly. Go ahead.
to my daughter Tiffany, to my mom Helen Hicks, to a good friend of mine Tony Miles,
Mhm.
to Felicia Felicia Hooks, I'm sorry. They and Alma Awfully in Boston. They have been there for me from day one until now. Like I'm gonna make you laugh. Felicia lives in South Carolina. Her family owns the restaurant. And what we would do, because I wasn't eating food, she would send me the menu for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I would choose what I wanted to eat. She would tell me a time it would be there, but it was all just fictional. It was just all to keep my spirits up. So like I would choose food knowing that I'm never going to get this food until I go down there. But that was her way of trying to help me and keep my spirits up. So I really
Wow.
want to, say thank you to that family because the whole family, it was a joke and it kept me going on those bad days.
Yes,
So,
yes. Yeah,
and
shout
also
out to those people.
I don't want to say a shout out to you because you text me, you Facebook me, you was like, okay,
I-
cuz how are you today? What do you need? And then after I, came healthy enough to really talk to you, you're like, well, be on my podcast and share. And I was like, maybe. Okay, I'll think about it. And I was, because again, I'm not one to share. Then
Mhm.
after I thought about it, I was like, other people need to hear your story so they can have their story. So I want to thank you as well for allowing me to be on your podcast and for sharing.
Yes, 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 yes. All the love, I can feel it through the screen. Is you're certainly welcome. And again, your story, and again, you're going to help somebody when they listen. And we cannot let you go before we tell everyone out there, get screened and get screened.
Yes,
When follow the guidelines, and if you're not sure, talk to your doctors, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinical anything. I'm just, I'm a certified life coach. I'm somebody that has gone through various types of trauma in my own life, but nothing compared to this right now we're talking about. Get screened early. If you have a family history, if you don't know the numbers, just get to a doctor at some point so that you're not waiting. Because I think people say it's just fearful that they don't want to go. The mammograms, they hurt and everything. And for some women, it really does. It's maybe uncomfortable, but we have to start taking care of ourselves. And I love what you said, Dr. Curtis, is that you said about just let people in your life. They don't have to be all in your business. That's not what we're talking about. We're just
right.
saying confide in someone. Just let people know if you're not doing so well, or it's National Stress Awareness Month, you think you're overwhelmed. Talk to somebody, talk to someone, call a friend, put things down, make a phone call. And back in the day, we made phone calls. Now everybody's texting. I don't really see you. I don't know what you look like. I don't know anything. I just know what you're telling me, via the mobile phone texting. So it's hard to kind of figure out if someone really is okay. But our audience, as always, will be hoping that you have a wonderful, the next journey in your life. I'm thinking, again, the book. or maybe a conference somewhere in Washington or Maryland area so that people will know. And I got to be the keynote speaker at that event. So
Of course, of course.
Tiffany might want to be, but I got to tell cousin Tiffany, let me be,
He's not
please.
going to talk to
Um,
people.
well, thank you
Yes.
so much, Michelle. Where can people find you? Real quickly, where can people find you?
I'm on Facebook. I don't have a website.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry. Um, I think I'm on I know I'm on Indeed and LinkedIn, but I have to check my LinkedIn to make sure
Okay.
that I know my password. But I do have a LinkedIn, so you can do that.
Okay, right. But you're pretty much on Facebook, and I know your daughter's out there, and so you'll be sharing the link. You'll get that soon and
Yeah,
everything, and you'll be able to share the
Instagram.
link.
I do. Yeah, I do
Instagram.
Instagram as well.
Yes, Instagram, which is somewhat connected to Facebook. But I'll make sure I get everything to your page. I'll make it really simple and easy for you so that whoever's following you will see the link, both on YouTube and the audio, which will be found on Anchor FM, Spotify, and wherever anyone gets their podcasts. All right. So
Okay.
much
All
love
right.
to
Thank
you,
you.
Dr.
And
Michelle
goodbye,
Curtis.
Tori. I'll talk to you later.
All
I'll be
right.
talking to you.
All right. Take care now. Bye
Okay.
now.
Bye bye.
All right. Okay, maybe for Michelle, you can go on out now. Go ahead and disengage. Disengage your phone. Disengage. Disengage.
I'm
All
trying.
right. Please disengage. You can go completely out.
Okay.
All right. So there you have it. I was talking to one of my second cousins who is a breast cancer survivor. And, I just say she's a warrior. I say Dr. Michelle Curtis, and I just love saying the doctor on it. She has a PhD. I know she's working on, one more couple of things on her dissertation, but I mean, mental health counseling. She's been in leadership roles in counseling with students at SEED charter school located in Washington, D.C. Just look her up. You'll see her. She's in a lot of pictures and everything. Just Google her and you'll see what type of work that she's done in the past. And she's probably going to try to get, maybe if not in the same realm or something different, because again, her life has changed, but nothing has changed about her where her motivation and her inspiration that came through today. I want to leave you with this. On Speak to Me First podcast show, I bring several guests. I've been doing this now for 2 years. I just had my podcast anniversary. Shout out to all of my audience, both national as well as international. I appreciate you and including the continent of Africa. It's just amazing how far people will pick up, your signal with a broadcast. So I want to just say thank you because again, it's not all about the numbers. I also believe it's about the quality. And I like to continue bringing quality guests on my show to talk about their stories of resilience. It may seem something similar that someone else has gone through and you've heard them on my show, but trust and believe we are all unique. There are no two of us alike, including if you were born a twin. So again, you have your own story and you have your own thing, the way you do it. But I just love it that, my cousin, Dr. Michelle Curtis, has really enlightened us about getting screened early if you have a family history. And if you don't have a family history, I'll tell you, know your numbers. We talked about diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, whatever it is. It is National Stress Awareness Month. But I couldn't be in the more stressful time my own self through my own personal life. But again, people can have a smile that's turned upside down. So there was a really old song, and depending on your age range, you may remember this. I'll tell you, it was Smokey Robinson, and it was called Tears of a Clown. And it's interesting because the clown is usually smiling and laughing and silly and all of that, but inside they may be just tearing up, just maybe it's just whatever it is they got going on, but it's kind of like you're forced to smile, you're forced to look like you're doing okay. And I'm saying this is the month, and going forward, you don't need to do that anymore. Just be who you are. And if you do need help, especially throughout this month, there are certainly medical professionals that can help you and guide you to a healthier life than you're having right now. So I like to again thank my guest, Dr. Michelle Curtis, who is also my second cousin out of Baltimore, Maryland, also hailed from Washington, D.C. Shout out to the rest of my extended family in that area as well. All of my cousins, love you all. And of course, uh, cousin Michelle cousin Michelle and her mom, who we reference as Aunt Helen. And I do it interchangeably. I say cousin Helen, Aunt Helen. You know how we do it in families. But technically, she's my cousin too. But respectfully, she is both cousin and auntie. And I want to just say shout out to you and, of course, your husband, Pete. And, all of the above people that I know and don't know. Michelle thanks you as well. So the lesson of the day, she really dropped the gems, and I'm just going to say, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast show. Speak to Me First podcast show. Speak to Me First podcast show. So nice. I had to say it twice. Learn more about me and my stories of hashtag resilience, including the loss of my daughter, my one and only child, in my 20s due to congenital heart disease. My beautiful daughter named Kiana and her family, our father's family, we all love my little girl. But again, I know this Mother's Day is coming up, so that too can be a really tough time for people like myself who have lost a child, which is supposed to be the most traumatic loss, according to medical professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, all of the medical professionals will agree on that. So take care of yourself. Self care. Dr. Curtis said to you today, hashtag self care. Connect with me, my website, TJV empowers you, the letter U.com. Again, TJV empowers you, the letter U.com. Make sure you connect with my guest today. You can follow her on Facebook and Instagram, and she is Michelle Curtis. And yes, I call her Dr. Michelle. How about that? All right. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. Starting with a wonderful day and a wonderful week. I appreciate you for checking in on me. And again, thank you for the love for 2 years and let's go on three for my podcast anniversary of Speak to Me First podcast show. As I say when I end all of my broadcasts, success is in your future. Bye for now.